Welcome to today's episode of Voices of Bangladesh. We take you through one of the most troubling developments in the country since the political changeover in August 2024. While the fall of the former Awami League regime had inspired hopes of justice, accountability, and democratic revival, 10 months on, Bangladesh seems to be drifting not toward reform but into the grip of chaos. The title of today's episode is Bangladesh in the Grip of the Mob: No Law, No Order, No Trust. Let's begin. Over the past 10 months, Bangladesh seems to be governed not by any constitution or rule of law, but by collective rage, spontaneous retribution, and mob justice. Since the ouster of Sheikh Hasina's government on August 5th, 2024, the interim administration had promised the rule of law, peaceful existence, and constitutional stability. Today, all of those promises seem hollow. The recent assault on former Chief Election Commissioner Nurul Huda, dragged out of his home in daylight, slapped, humiliated with a garland of shoes, and pelted with eggs, was not merely an attack on a person. It was a direct blow to the justice system, citizen rights, and the very principle of due process. What does it say about the state when a former constitutional official is assaulted in front of the police and there is no immediate action? Mob violence and public lynchings are not new in Bangladesh, but what makes the current wave different is its sheer scale, impunity, and growing normalization. According to Aino Shalish Kendro, 179 people have been killed in mob violence over the past 10 months, 83 of them in the first 6 months of 2025 alone. This is no longer fringe behavior, is the shadow governance system taking over. And who are these mobs? They are not faceless crowds. Often they include local political workers, even retired members of the police or military. They beat people in public, post videos online, and face no consequences. Sometimes they even declare their political affiliation on camera. The silence or delayed response from the state only reinforces a dangerous idea that such violence is tolerated, perhaps even encouraged. In Nurul Huda's case, the attack came after a case was filed against him. Instead of waiting for the legal process, local political actors decided to deliver justice with slaps and shoes. Central party leaders called it a one-off incident, denying organizational involvement. But this culture of plausible deniability is precisely what has enabled the mob's rise. Even in opposition, political forces seem unable or unwilling to detach from the politics of revenge. Why has this mob culture taken root so deeply? The answer is simple: a lack of consequences. The perpetrators are caught on camera, faces exposed, names known, yet no arrests, no charges, no trials. Police keep saying investigations are underway, but many see this is as a cruel joke. Worse, in some cases, the assailants are former members of the security forces. Even a former Inspector General of Police recently admitted that the police's role in these incidents is deeply troubling. Mob violence is now triggered by everything: political rivalry, religious rumors, even domestic disputes. Just this month, a YouTuber turned up at his wife's home with a crowd to shame her in public. In another case, an elderly barber and his son were beaten and handed to police over allegations of blasphemy. The mob has become both a weapon and a spectacle. Social media has turned these attacks into entertainment, and it's not just ordinary citizens at risk. Police themselves are being attacked. Since August 2024, at least 477 cases of attacks on police officers have been recorded. In May alone, 62 such incidents took place. When law enforcement officers are being assaulted with impunity, the erosion of authority is complete. So, where is the state in all this? From time to time, statements are made: mob justice will not be tolerated, perpetrators will be punished. But these pronouncements have become punchlines. If mobs are the new judiciary, then what is the purpose of courts, police, or government? Analysts argue that this is the result of a leadership vacuum, political irresponsibility, and deliberate silence. The chaos is not random, it is, at times, manipulated or overlooked for short-term political gains. Whether it's the ruling camp or opposition parties, none seem genuinely interested in upholding a consistent standard of justice. And the outcome, a collapsing faith in institutions, a growing tendency toward vigilant justice, an epidemic of fear. Citizens now quietly wonder, will I be next? This culture of fear spreading from the poorest to the powerful, from the margins to the center. The rivalry between the BNP and the interim government is only fueling the flames. Each side blames the other, while the public sees both is culpable. Where the government fails, the opposition lacks moral clarity instead of rejecting mob behavior outright. Some political factions appear to tolerate or even excuse it. Bangladesh is at a crossroads, a country where the state cannot protect its citizens, courts are sidelined, political leadership is absent, and mobs run wild is not a democracy. It's a fragile, collapsing experiment. If this is to change, the state must act firmly, impartially, and decisively, not just with words but with action. Perpetrators must be punished regardless of party affiliation. Law enforcement must be repelled, and political parties must dismantle their violent factions. Society needs a clear message. The law, not the state, is the ultimate authority. If this doesn't happen soon, Bangladesh will cease to be a democratic republic and become a republic of the mob, where fear replaces justice and vengeance replaces governance. Thank you for listening to this urgent episode of Voices of Bangladesh. If this episode raised questions in your mind, share it, start a conversation, and don't let the silence win. Until next time, stay informed, stay safe, and stand for justice. Thank you.